Well, it is a pleasure to have Ron back with us again. And like in his bio, Ron's been collecting stamps on and off since he was 10. And he's from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. No, I always say that wrong. Wilkes-Barre, right? Is that Wilkes? Yeah,
There are different opinions.
Wilkes-Barre. But see, when in Indiana, it's Terry Hott, spelled with a, so I don't know. That's English. He's a worldwide collection, but specializes in the United States, Confederate States, Canada, several topical collections, including horror, Hitchcock, and Cimarron stamps. And we've heard about many of those. He has various cover collections, including covers from U.S. Navy ships named after local places, local postal history, local post philatelic history. He's a member of various philatelic societies, founder, president, newsletter editor for the Wyoming Valley Club. And he's been retired from his job as a litigation paralegal for a few years now. I think if you once mentioned you were also in the military, you were a postal clerk, right?
Oh, yes.
What service were you in?
I've got the
The
sound.
Army.
Army. Okay. Okay. Very good. Well, really enjoy having you come back as always. Not that you're coming back, you're here every month, but to come back with a good presentation, which we look forward to as a master storyteller. So the rest of you, please just join me in welcoming Ron, and feel free to share your screen, and rest of us, we will turn our mics off.
Okay, so as Paul mentioned, I have a topical collection of horror on stamps, and these stamps I'm going to show, which depict ghost stories of Greenland, are part of that collection. Now, snow and icy winds chill the desolate expanses of Greenland, but that is not all. Tales of ghosts and monsters also sent shivers down the spines of Greenlanders. Tusass, the postal administration of Greenland, issued 4 sets of 2 stamps each from 2020 through 2023, depicting the ghostly legends of the not-so-Greenland. The early people of Greenland were very dependent on nature due to the harsh climate of the huge island. They would hunt and gather when the weather allowed, and then hunker down during the long, bitter winters. Since nature was such a huge and decisive factor in their lives, they had a tendency to personify it and make it alive. They developed taboos, spells, and amulets to deal with their challenging lives, which led to myths and stories help understand their strategies. Now, the stories began as oral narratives, and it's quite some time before they were written down, usually by European explorers and missionaries. All the designs on the stamps and the stories behind them are taken from this book, Bestiarium Greenlandica, which was published in 2018 by Millick Publishing. It was edited by Maria Bach Kreutzmann and illustrated by various artists. The book contains stories about 67 Greenlandic ghosts, spirits, mythical creatures, and strange beings, as well as background information and reference material. The introduction discusses, among other things, the types of spirits in the land's mythology, such as helper spirits or scare spirits. Now, the first series of Greenland ghost story stamps, Scott 852 to 53, was issued on November 6, 2020. Greenland's currency is a Danish krone, which is abbreviated DKK. Maria Bach Kreutzmann created the Danish krone 1.00 stamp, and Christian Fleischer Rex the Danish krone 4450 stamp. Now, the Danish krone 1 stamp features Ajumak. You'll have to bear with my pronunciation of Greenlandic words. Also known as a sleeved one, which lives in a tunnel in the ice cap. This creature has long, slender arms that are black from the elbows down, with each hand having only 3 fingers. The head resembles a bald or skeletal dog's head with large piercing eyes. The sleeved one floats through the air, and when it touches anything, including a human, that thing soon rots away. Ajumak either speaks like a whispering ghost or shouts its arrival. The Danish krone 4450 stamp depicts Ekelet, also known as a dog people. These are half dog, half human creatures who live in packs on or near the ice cap. Sometimes they dwell in ordinary houses, but they prefer caves under big rocks. They move fast enough to outrun humans, and they have a great sense of smell. They are extremely aggressive and hostile and love to pick fights with humans. For weapons, they use bows and knives. Now, the official first day covers for all the issues have a cachet showing a creature different than the ones featured on the stamps. The cachet for the first day cover of the first set of stamps depicts Imat Nanua, or Bear of the Sea. This bear is so big that it can wade through fjords, and when it puts its front paws on the shore and cranes its neck, it can lick the highest mountaintops. However, despite its size, it is silent and easily sneaks up on people. When it inhales, it can suck in a boat complete with occupants, and when exhaling, it tips all paddlers out of the boats. The first day cancellation for all issues has a drawing of Umiarisat, who are warriors with bushy beards, big hats, and shiny weapons. They disguise themselves as seals, and when they reach shore, they turn into human-like creatures in order to attack settlements and butcher the people. Greenland Ghost Stories, stamp series number 2, it's got 879 to 80, was issued on September 17, 2020. The lower value stamp was designed by Maya Lisa Kalet, and the upper value by Jonathan Brush. The lower denomination stamp features Kivitak, or mountain wanderer. The Kivitat, which is a plural form, are created when people leave their settlement in shame, anger, or grief. They wander across the mountains or the ice cap in order to isolate themselves from all other people. Their garments consist of hare or fox skins, and their boots are made from twigs, roots, or leather straps. They have red eyes, matted hair, and very dark skin. It is said that the touch of a kivitak can cause infected wounds. A creature cannot fully transform into a kivitak until it loses all its humanity. A fully transformed monster can often be seen floating across the mountains, breathing out fire, or having a tail of fire. Now, the Kivitak was the antagonist in the Greenlandic horror movie Kakkat Alanguri, which was released in 2011. The movie has the English title, In Shadows in the Mountains. It tells of 6 young students as they celebrate their graduation by taking a trip to a family-owned cabin in the mountains of Greenland. Of course, the cabin lies outside cell phone coverage. And the festive young people are not as alone as they think in the desolate landscape when they see signs of the territorial avenging spirit known as the Quivituk. And the weekend turns into a bloodbath. Now, the higher denomination stamp of the second issue has the image of Angiak, or the secret. It is the spirit of a baby or a fetus who was born in secret and then killed. The spirit lives on, looking for the love of which it was deprived. The spirit finds a skull of a dog, which it uses as a boat, and searches out relatives of its mother. It will drown them or shoot them with arrows as punishment for their crime. It can crawl into siblings born after it and kill them by causing internal bleeding. The only way Angiak can be stopped is for a secret to be revealed. Now this is the first day cover of the second issue of Stamps. The cachet for the first day cover depicts Kia Appa, also known as the Big Mask. This creature is a giant mask with arms and legs, but no head or body. It can frighten people to death or possess them, making them sick and stealing their souls. The body of a possessed person is covered with huge bruises, or he or she suffers terrible fits. When a possessed person dies, the corpse might wake up with a scream and jump around. The third set of stamps, Scott 892 to 93, was issued on May 31st, 2022. The Danish Krone 2 stamp was designed by Karina Lillegard, Love Green, and the Danish Krone 27 by Coco Apunguak Linge. Oh. So the lower value stamp shows Amu, which is a helper spirit. And Amu helps a shaman's soul leave his body in order to go on a spirit journey to locate malevolent spirits causing harm to the settlement. During this ritual, Amu keeps the audience alive and protects them from other spirits. Amu has a small, almost withered body, 2 extremely long arms, 3 fingers on each hand, and a big head with large eyes. The creature continually screams, Amu, Amu. The other stamp depicts Orlimatak, also known as a ghoul or the dead one. This creature has a black face and a desiccated body and usually lives in a grave. A person walking by the grave might hear a buzzing sound. This creature will sometimes lie screaming in the grave during a full moon. And when it rises from its burial, it looks like the northern lights. It is a helper spirit for a shaman. This is the official first day cover for the third set of stamps. The cachet for the first day cover for the third set depicts Hisap Inua, the Lord of Strength. This is a large creature resembling a fox or dog with a very long tail and a human face. This is a benign creature that is wise and strong, and people seek it out to give them strength. The fourth set of stamps, Scott 921 to 22, was issued on February 27th, 2023. The Danish Krone 13 stamp was designed by Martin Brand Hansen and the Danish Krone 39 by August Christensen. And the lower value stamp is Ekungasak, or the one with a crooked mouth. The creature has a big crooked mouth placed vertically across its face, and it becomes angry when asked about that facial feature. It lives on the outermost reefs and will leave its perch only when the waves are very high. It is a spirit that will assist humans during storms. When the human calls upon this creature, it appears in a shower of sparks. The upper value stamp pictures Sermelusuak, also known as the ice-covered bear. This creature is a giant polar bear that was formed by an underwater ice mountain, and it's completely covered in ice. It is dangerous to people as it feeds on human flesh. It wanders in from under the ice when the ice melts, or from hollows in the mountains when the sun comes out. Its breath covers the entire landscape in an icy fog. One story tells of a hunter who escaped from this creature by plunging a chisel into its eyes, killing it. This is the official first day cover for the fourth set of stamps. And the cachet for the first day cover depicts Philatelic, or the pot creature, which wanders around with a big pot of hot rocks on its back, and it picks up fish or birds to boil in the pot. Now, with this rich treasury of scary creatures, perhaps Tusass will issue more sets of stamps in the future. There are illustrations of 48 more monsters in the book. However, I hope they don't use this one, as I have no idea how to pronounce that name. Thank you. Any questions?
Ron,
May I make just a comment, not a question? I've never seen monsters done so graphically as these. Whoever developed them did an outstanding job.
Yeah, yeah, there were quite a few artists involved with creating these illustrations. You know, I shown in the book. You can't see it now, but it's shown in the book I showed.
yeah, I'm gonna have bad dreams tonight. Some of the things you've shown, before too. Is this something to do with, the Nordic countries? I mean, I can't think of any, maybe other than election time, any unanimous American monsters or ghosts or things like that, but it seems that the Nordic countries do have them.
Well, quite a few countries have legends like this. 'Cause I started putting together a checklist of horror on stamps, and I have over 300 items on the list, and they're from
Okay.
countries all over the world, mostly in the northern hemisphere, though.
Okay. Anything much in with the United States?
Well, there are a few. Not really all that many, I guess. Or I could think of 3 issues: the jack-o'-lanterns,
Okay.
the spooky silhouettes, and the Day of the Dead stamps.
Okay. Did that start in Mexico, right? The Day of the Dead, but we've seemed to adopt it.
Yeah, Mexico issued quite a few Day of the Dead stamps,
Yeah.
but it's
Okay.
mostly celebrated in Latin American countries.
Yeah. Well, I agree with Al. I mean, the artistry on this is really, really amazing. Very nice.
Ron,
Questions,
this
folks?
is Mike. Did you know that the Nordic countries issued stamps together in 2004, 2006, and 2008 on Nordic gods, Nordic mythical beings, and mythical places and mystical sites? And they're quite some interesting stamps that were issued by, at the same time, each of those years by the major Nordic countries, being Denmark, Faroe Islands, Greenland, Finland, Ireland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. And
Yeah, you probably came across some of them.
Other questions, folks?
Yeah, I got one.
Stephen.
All my years in Alaska, I really don't remember any of the, like the Athabascans or any of the population of folks that were originally there have any of these ghosts and bad demons. I wonder if there's any kind of connection with the East and the West.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't heard of any either.
Hmm.
Although Canada has issued quite a few horror-related stamps.
Mhm.
Some are based on native legends.
Canada does?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then you would sure think that because some of those populations are in Alaska as well. So
Mhm.
you would think, I'm going to have to do some homework now. I just remember all my years in the army up there. I just don't remember. Um, I don't remember that. So I'll have to look.
Other questions, people?
very good, Ron.
Oh, thank you.
Now, Ron, my question is, what do you have ready for us for next year? Right. You're on my short list, so we always look forward to that.
Yeah, well, I have lots of material to choose from.
Yeah, that's neat. Okay, folks. Well, thank you, Ron. What do we have for show and tell? Have to have something here.
Paul,
I
I
do
was
imagine-
able to get those pictures moved over to where I can show them
Oh,
here
okay.
quickly.
Yeah, let's do that.
So let me do that. Share. There we go. There's
Yeah.
Mike winding up on his presentation. Probably not the most flattering pose, Mike,
No.
but with this title slide, and then where is Switzerland? Thank you for the geography lesson. And a little further into the presentation, it's just a couple of snapshots here, and then
Rick.
yeah, Rick's. Yeah, thank you. I was having a moment there. Rick is with his presentation. Coober Petty was the name of this very remote town in the center of Australia. I did a little research on the town afterwards. Very interesting place. What the rest of his presentation showed some of the underground living arrangements and even hotels and places like that. Everything was underground because of the extreme heat of the desert during the day. That's it. I don't have a
Hey,
whole
Dave,
lot.
can you go back to the other one with Mike? I'll do a screenshot and I have one, Rick, and I'll send it to Charlie. Yeah. Okay.
There you go. I mean, I'll send all of these photos along as well.
Well, why don't you do that? Because there'll probably be better copies than.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you. So, Mike, how does it feel to be an object of show and tell?
Unbeknownst to him.
Yeah. Anything else, folks? Okay. Dave Barron, did you get the video or the audio? See here? I just gotta.
Gone.
Did not have anything. Okay. Let me do a couple show and tells then that I have. Is it coming through?
Yeah.
Okay. This I came across and just learned something from Rick just the other day, but it looked like an interesting one, given my interest in FDR and, World's Fairs and things like that. This was a Chicago show of 1933. And there's a front and a back auxiliary marking. So this was this was the final action. James A. Farley, Postmaster General of the United States, officially representing President Franklin D. Roosevelt, opening up the show. Because Roosevelt was supposed to open it up, but what happened was he got busy. If you know the date, 1933, he was just inaugurated not very long before that. And I'm sure as much as he wanted to open it up, business took care of things. But here's the two of, this is one on the front. This is the auxiliary marking on the back. Which said there's two of them. This was the original plan. FDR was going to speak and open it up. And then as you saw from this one here, he had to revise it and show James A. Farley as the speaker. So interesting bit of, I guess, postal social history, World's Fair history and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yes. And inside was this handout. And, Colonel Ralph Kimball. And if you remember, Rick Barrett is a specialist kind of on Ralph. He just published this month in the American Philatelist an article about Ralph Kimball. So if you missed his presentation, you can read about it in the American Philatelist. And the reprint was from the H.E. Harris Company, the stamp company of Massachusetts. And here's another one, which has both of the different hand stamps on it, and then the original plan, and then this. Kind of what we did for Lancaster in 2022, I think it was, when we thought we were going to open up again, and then we couldn't. And I was starting to get the covers planned, and we had a couple different stamps saying, well, this is what it's going to be. Well, sorry, we're closed. But also inside this was the stamp man who had the radio show, as Rick shared with us. So for World's Fair collectors, you get the cancel and the presidential and James A. Farley. Farley was Roosevelt's postmaster general. He was Roosevelt's campaign manager when he ran for governor in New York State a few years earlier, and then was awarded the rank of postmaster general for the first 2 terms. And then that was from 32 to 40. In 1940, he thought it was his turn to be president, and he and Roosevelt had a disagreement with it, because with World War II starting, Roosevelt thought it'd be better to have continuous leadership in the United States. So he ran for that, and then again in 44, then passing away of a stroke the following year. But very, very interesting material. And again, I'm in my World's Fair phase, and here's James A. Farley speaking at that event. And I'm always just amazed at things you can find on the internet without even looking that hard. It's just a beautiful logo of the show. It always reminds me of fountain pens and a political cartoon. And what it's showing is that the hope of this show was kind of put the Great Depression aside, because it was the peak of that depression. It was one of the reasons Roosevelt was elected to, based on what his promises were to get the country out of the Great Depression. So that is that one. Any questions on that? Okay. And I have this one. I just thought this was interesting. This is a very loose address, and we have seen these, and it was to Mr. A. Lewis, the corner of Hudson and York Streets in Jersey City, New Jersey, 1885. Yeah. And Jersey City had a good population. I was going to go look it up, but I never did get around to it. But you can see that this, I just have 1935. It's a 1885 cover, and it's franked with the 156 or 212s. I don't really know the difference. I can't tell just by looking at this. But what's interesting at the time, for the distance from Jersey City, Elizabeth, wasn't that far, but it went from one post office to the other in 2 hours. You can see the transit time from 10 a.m. on November 28th to 12. Yeah, about noon. Okay, midnight. I take that back then. It's a 12-hour one. But they got fast at the time. And this is just a very unusual cover. I've never heard kind of a American Baby Day in coordination with George Washington's bicentennial celebration. The things people put on envelopes. George Washington with babies in Asbury Park. And this is a year of the Washington Presidential Series, 1780, yeah, the 200th. Yeah, he was born in 1732. And finally, this is an interesting one. I went to pay my water bill on September 23rd from zip code, which is my zip code. And you can see here is my stamp. When we get a lot of, probably you get them too, a lot of solicitations from nonprofits, please send us a check. We're matching this and matching that. And they'll send you an envelope with a stamp already affixed on the end. So what I often do with my citrus orange is spray it and reuse. I'm not reusing, but actually use them because they haven't been used on my mail. And it came back like this, right from the zip code. And there is a close-up of it, of the 23 September water bill cover. Whenever I use, I think many of you have received my, let anything from me in the mail. I try to put as many stamps as I can. But when you use a forever stamp, you really don't need to, whatever. But I realize this is pre-sorted, and that makes a difference as well. That's probably why it is void. And they did catch it. Probably wondering how they caught it. Any ideas? Would that pop out of the mail stream?
I don't know, this is Jardel, but I've had a couple where I accidentally put like nonprofits or
Okay,
bulk mail or whatever, and I got them back too. So, but they
Yeah.
didn't write anything on it. They just had
yeah.
return to sender or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I
I
wonder,
was,
I wonder if it's maybe tagging or something like that they caught it.
yeah, the tagging is different or something, but yeah, it was caught. I don't thinking maybe, you know, with it, if they did have tagging, it was a Chinese tagging, which was different. And but anyway, it did get bounced. So that was the story. And I always like to say, whenever you see discounted US postage from different companies, they're often using the USPS logo and everything like that. As you can see here, they're always counterfeits. Unless you buy them at a stamp show and you know the stamp dealer and they're older stamps and you're buying at reduced discounted postage. But for the most part, when you see them on the internet, you don't want to buy those. So that's what I have.